Casio is a god tier brand, and supposedly this $20 watch is one of the best that they have to offer. So I spent 1 year with this to see if that statement is actually true. So this mystery watch isn't much of a mystery at all. Actually, it's the Casio A158W, and it's been going strong for the past 40 years and counting. This watch will give you more retro vibes than drinking a bottle of Coke at your local arcade. $20 can't get you far in this economy. I'd rather skip out on 2 Starbucks occasions and pick up this watch. This watch packs a copious amount of features. It has a stopwatch, an alarm, a 24-hour clock, and it also has 30 meters of water resistance. So you probably shouldn't go swimming with it, and if you dropped it into a lake, it probably would break. But it wouldn't even matter. It's only $20, and if I'm being completely honest, I think Casio's underplaying how good the water resistance is on this watch. There are numerous stories of people swimming with this watch and it coming out completely fine. So it comes at 38 millimeters from lug to lug and 8.5 millimeters thick, so it's extremely thin, and it's only 58 grams in terms of its weight. And that is partially due to its resin case. So yes, it's not stainless steel, but that adds to the fact that it's so thin and light. This is the type of watch that you buy, you set the time, you put it on your wrist, and you forget about it. And that may be a pro, maybe a con for some of you, but I think for most of you, having a reliable watch that you can read easily and just forget about, that is a definite pro in my books. This Casio has a 7-year battery life, meaning that this battery will probably see the day that Rolex can actually produce a proper Pepsi bezel. Let's get on to the cons of this watch. Battle scars. No, not the ones that you accumulate in battle. I'm talking about the ones that you get on the front of your watch. And if you love battle scars, then this watch is the perfect watch for you. All jokes aside, this has a mineral crystal on the front, and it just means that it's more prone to scratching than something such as sapphire or hardlex. And crystal just meaning this transparent layer over the front of the watch. I really wish that Casio did opt for those other aforementioned alternatives, even if it did cost a little bit more money, because it is a little bit annoying to see those scratches on your favorite watch every time you look down on it every single day. So I have a little story about my scratches that I'll link somewhere over here. It's in my State of the Collection video. One minor gripe I have with this Casio is that it looks a little bit incohesive. And what do I mean by that? Well, it has a brushed stainless steel bracelet that curves into this polished resin body. So yes, if you are nitpicking, you would be able to see it, but for most, it goes unnoticed. So let's get on to the next con. One of the cost-cutting measures to get this watch down to the $20 price point is unfortunately the folded stainless steel links. Folded stainless steel just means that you have 2 sheets of stainless steel, it's folded, and that's what they make the bracelet out of, instead of having one chunk of metal and those being the links. It feels a little bit cheaper. It makes the bracelet a little bit more jangly, and you can see the folded links when you look at it up close. For $20, what can you realistically expect? This isn't some major deal breaker. So there always is light at the end of this tunnel. Hopefully that light isn't this backlight, because if it was, you probably wouldn't be able to see it, because this supposed backlight is actually coming in from the left side. When you click the top left-hand corner, there's this little green light that is supposed to illuminate the watch, but it only really does its job when you're in pitch black. But if I'm being fair, when I actually need to see the time and I need the backlight, it's when I'm in a sort of pitch black scenario, when I'm in my room at wee hours of night trying to look up the next watch that I might purchase, then yes, I'm gonna use that backlight feature. So let's get on to the plethora of pros about this watch. I just wanted to mention that I purchased this Casio with my own money, and there are going to be links in the description, and yes, they are affiliate links, but of course that doesn't incur any extra cost to you, and also it doesn't affect my opinions on this watch. In this review, I'm trying to be as transparent and as honest as I possibly can so you understand what it's truly like to live with the Casio A158W. My opinions are just my opinions, so if you disagree with them or if you just want to talk watches, I'd recommend commenting down below because I'm going to try to respond to each and every one of your comments. So if you ask me to wear one watch for the rest of my life, it would definitely be this Casio. And if you watched my other videos, you've known that I've gushed over this watch even when I didn't have any affiliate links. I'd recommend waiting till the end of the video because I'm going to give you access to a compendium of watches that I would recommend and watches that are great alternatives to this watch. This watch covers the majority of occasions for me. Usually I'm dressing casually or semi-casually, and this Casio checks those boxes. Of course, it's questionable as to whether it would fit in a black tie event, in which those cases I would wear a dress watch, but for the majority of my life, I have this Casio on my wrist. Everybody needs a beater watch, a cheaper watch that they can wear and they know will be reliable when they're doing work around the house, when they're gardening, some sort of manual labor. I usually use this stopwatch feature to see how long I've been cooking something like pasta, and yep, I think I overcooked it. Why, you may be asking? Because I was too busy staring at this god tier watch. They just need the time and they don't want to have a headache as to how to set the time. It's just very, very convenient. And if you aren't a fan of this stainless steel, which personally I am, it's one of the reasons I opted for this watch, you can also go for the Casio F91W, which I will link in the description below. And my wrist is also around 6 inches. And if your wrist is a little bit bigger or you want a bigger watch that's similar to this and has a better backlight, you can go for the Casio A168W, with linked in the description below as well. I'm not a big fan of the rubber band. I just find that having a rubber band on a watch limits you in terms of how you can wear it, because personally I wouldn't wear a Casio F91W to a semi-formal event. I think this would be more appropriate. It would be very remiss of me to not mention the 80s color palette. It has red, blue, white, and yellow, and it just adds a little bit of pop of color to any boring outfit, and I think it works for most people due to how minimalist the design is. I think sometimes we forget that watches were originally designed to be tools, and this Casio definitely fits the bill. I'm no pro athlete, so I can't say this works when you're rock climbing or when you're horseback riding, but you know what? I am a Canadian, so this little Casio has to withstand negative 20-degree weather with snowstorms and rain and just being submerged in water, and I can tell you that this Casio is doing just fine. You know what else this watch is resistant to? Braggadocious watch snobs. Yes, this watch is quite literally the antithesis to watch snobbery, and you have big names such as Ryan Gosling and also Nico Leonard, who have probably millions of dollars poured into their collections, but they call this watch a god tier watch, and that there's a reason for that. This watch avoids watch criticism just like Tissot's Quartz PRX avoids its markers. Casio is a great gateway for new people to get into this hobby without breaking the bank. And Casio is just an everyman's watch. It works reliably, and whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you're old, and whether you're young, this watch is definitely a must-have in any collection. As per viewer request, I'm gonna quickly answer why I'm in this watch hobby in the first place, why I got into it. And this Casio has a big role to play in it. Before I got engulfed in this amazing watch hobby, I was actually engulfed in another hobby, consumer tech. I was enthralled by the smartwatch. I really wanted one until I actually got one in my hands. The idealism of it kind of dissipated when I went to this competition. They said that you couldn't wear your smartwatch and you had to wear either a digital watch or a traditional watch. It was the night before the competition, and I just ran to a grocery store and found the cheapest watch I could find for like $10. It was really, really bad. After using it, I knew that there was something better out there. Because I tend to do an excessive amount of research, I actually came across this watch because I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on my first watch. This little Casio is the reason that I got into this hobby in the first place, so for that I am very thankful. And it's also the reason I started this watch channel. So Yeah, a little bit biased. Lastly, we're going to talk about this watch and its place in horology. Sure, it's not a breguet, it's not the first watch to ever come out, and it's not the first digital watch either, but you know what it is? It's part of Casio's legacy. Casio became part of this digital watch world when they released the first ever affordable digital watch in 1974. And this isn't that, but it's an extension of their legacy that is a little wearable piece of history, and it's super cheap. I don't see any reason to not go and pick this up. I also just wanted to mention that I've opened up a new Instagram account, so if you want to see some updates on what I'm wearing every day and a sneak peek into my future YouTube videos, I would definitely recommend checking that out. I appreciate you guys for continuing to watch throughout this video, and as always, I hope this channel patinas like your favorite watch, and I hope it gets better and better. And if you enjoyed, please hit that like and subscribe button, as it really does help out the channel. Feel free to check the link in the description that gives you access to my website, where I post short blogs of different watches that I own, just some analysis of other watches and watches that I personally recommend, which includes some alternatives to this Casio. That's the end of this episode, and I'll see you in another episode of the Time Ticker.